If you're running a growing accounting firm, you know the feeling, right? Scaling up can feel like you're constantly just one step away from total chaos. Well, today, we are going to break down how you can move past all that pressure. We'll talk about building a firm that isn't just bigger, but way smarter, more in control, and of course, more profitable. Let's dive.
Does this question hit a little too close to home? You know that feeling? That endless cycle where you just get through one crazy deadline and bam, another one is right around the corner. Look, you are not alone. So many firms hit this wall where growth starts to feel less like a win and more like, well, a huge burden.
These are the classic red flags. Your best people are getting burnt out working nights and weekends. You, as a leader, you're stuck putting out fires in operations instead of actually thinking about strategy. And then, mistakes start creeping in when things get hectic. Worst of all, that high-value advisory work, the stuff that really builds your firm's future, there's just no time for it. If any of this is ringing a bell, it's a huge signal that your current model just isn't built to last.
So what's the knee-jerk reaction when things get crazy? Just hire more people, right? Well, let's take a closer look at why that traditional approach, it often makes the problem worse, not better.
And here's the real issue with just hiring more bodies. Bringing on more local staff is really expensive. And I don't just mean salary. Think about the months it takes to find and train them, plus that overhead, it's permanent. It doesn't just disappear when the busy season is over, which leaves your cost structure totally out of sync with your actual workload. It's a tough spot to be in.
So if the old way is broken, what's the alternative? It's all about building a smarter, much more flexible operating model. One that taps into global talent to give you capacity exactly when and where you need it most.
So you've basically got two main flavors here. Nearshoring is great because you're in similar time zones, which makes real-time collaboration a breeze. Offshoring, on the other hand, opens up these massive talent pools, offers some pretty serious cost advantages, and it is incredibly scalable. Now, the choice really depends on what your firm needs, but remember this one critical point. Quality comes from your process, not from your team's zip code.
And let's be really clear here. This is not just about saving a few bucks. This is a strategic power play. You get the ability to ramp up capacity almost overnight without some 6-month hiring headache. You get super consistent, reliable output on all those routine tasks. But here's the real kicker. You free up your senior in-house experts from the daily grind, letting them focus on the high-value advisory work that actually moves the needle for your firm.
Okay, we've finally arrived at the single most overlooked secret to making all of this work. So many firms put all their energy into finding the right people, thinking that's the whole game. But they are missing the most important piece of the entire puzzle.
So let me just ask you, why do you think is the #1 most critical factor here? Is it having the absolute smartest people on your outsourced team? I mean, talent is definitely important, don't get me wrong, but it is not the most important thing, not by a long shot. And here it is. This is the big aha moment for scaling any firm. Processes trump people. Think about it. Even a team of all-stars is going to struggle without a clear, structured system to follow. A well-documented process is what creates consistency, it's what crushes errors, and it becomes the true engine that drives your success.
So what does that actually look like? Well, first, you literally document every single workflow, step by step. No shortcuts. Then, you define what good looks like with clear quality standards. Next, you decide exactly who is responsible for reviewing what. And finally, you set firm expectations for turnaround times. And you know what? This kind of discipline doesn't just help a global team. It's going to make your entire firm run better.
Okay, let's move on from the theory and see how this all works in the real world. How does this process-first approach actually transform the most chaotic parts of your business into something predictable and, dare I say, manageable?
You know, there is absolutely no better stress test for a firm's operations than tax season. It's the annual trial by fire, isn't it? How you handle that massive spike in work is what really separates the firms that are built to last from the ones that are just barely getting by.
The top-performing firms, they don't just react to tax season. They plan for it months ahead of time. They figure out which routine tasks are perfect for offshore support. They build out those super detailed workflows we just talked about. They assign dedicated people, and this is crucial, they create really clear paths for review and for when things need to be escalated. The result? A predictable process with way less stress.
Payroll is another absolute perfect candidate for this model. I mean, it's repetitive, it's totally deadline-driven, and it is loaded with compliance risk. Handing that off to a specialized team ensures it gets done right every time. It lowers your liability, and it gives you capacity that grows with your client list, which lets your in-house team focus on more complex client problems.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. This is the big fear, isn't it? It's the question every single firm leader asks. If I send the work somewhere else, do I lose control? Do I lose visibility? And it's a totally valid concern, but a really well-built system, it actually does the complete opposite. You see, a strong partner doesn't work in a black box. They build you a glass box. They actually give you more transparency through things like regular status reports and shared dashboards. And because you've already defined all the expectations and escalation paths, you're not losing control. You're actually gaining a level of oversight that's probably even better than what you had before.
So let's boil all of this down to one core idea, one final takeaway. The goal here is no longer to just survive growth, it's to master it by working smarter, not harder.
But look, this isn't magic. You have to avoid the common pitfalls. Don't rush into this before your processes are fully documented. That's a recipe for disaster. Treat your global team like a true extension of your firm, not just some temporary help. Overinvest in communication and training. And finally, be smart about how you scale. Make sure your oversight always keeps up with your growth.
I really want to leave you with this one final thought. The most successful, most profitable firms out there, they are not defined by how many late nights their team pulls. Nope. They're defined by the smart, flexible systems they've built, systems that let them grow without breaking. So the final question is really for you. Are you ready to make that shift? Are you ready to stop reacting to workloads and start proactively designing a firm that can handle literally any challenge growth throws its way? Because the time to rethink how you operate is right now.